Okay, let's get this show on the road. It's 6 o'clock on Tuesday. Must be the 15th of July, 2014. I'd like to call the Board of Trustees meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Lino,
Here.
Abshire here, Baker,
Here.
Clove,
Here.
Duffy. Coming. Yep, he's not here yet. Solomon
Here.
and Zajac. Here.
Approval of the minutes as published.
So moved. Second.
Additions, deletions, corrections, comments, insults, criticism.
Insults?
Nothing?
Nothing?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
There he is.
Okay. See, you were right. I called the meeting to order. You show up.
Duffy.
Well, I said 6 o'clock, it's right on.
Comments and correspondence.
None, as of this meeting.
Okay. Is there anybody in the audience who would care to make a comment on a non-agenda item? Thank you. New business. Presentation by Dark County Soil and Water Conservation Department. And Frank Mighty's eradication efforts.
I'm gonna let Krista handle this
Please
presentation.
introduce yourselves.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay.
I gotta face the camera.
Yes.
Face them, they're more important. My name is Greg Walters, I work for the Dark County Soil and Water Conservation Department, and we've been going around giving these presentations to the different municipalities with our Fragmites control program. And today, Krista's been with us for about a month. Mr. Lesky, and she's got a lot of experience with Fragmites control work. I'll let her introduce herself in a second here, but she's gonna be taking over the lion's share of the work, just because it's gonna be so intensive here for the next couple of months. But I'm gonna hand out a couple of things here as you give your introduction, and then we'll get started.
As Greg said, I am Krista Lutsky. I'm the newest conservationist with Soil and Water, and I have been with them for about a month. Previously, I was with the DNR as the Fragmites project coordinator for one of their GLRI grants. So I have a deep history of this project and related projects. Today, we are here to talk about two of the programs that Soil and Water is working on currently, one of which is wild parsnip, which we will not be addressing today. But if you have questions, please feel free to let us know, and we can discuss or answer anything that you may need. And as we said, we are talking about Phragmites australis. And for those of you that may not be familiar with it, if you drive into Green Bay, it is a giant wall of grass along each side of the highway. It is a very aggressive, invasive species. It can be 10, 14, and I've seen it 20 feet tall. And it is produced in three ways: by seed, by rhizome, which is the root system that goes into the ground, and then by stolons, which is the picture in the middle right. And those stolons can grow about 40 to 60 feet per growing season. And every approximate 12 to 15 inches is something called a node, which creates a new rhizome that goes down into the soil. So as you can see, it's a very aggressive plant, and it eliminates habitat from many of the native plant, and also can be a detriment to some of the fauna. The Soil and Water Department saw that there was a need to manage this plant, and what we did is an inventory, along with the help of a lot of our partners, of all of the Phragmites that's present in the county. And the first treatment that the county did was in 2009, and it was a first-come, first-served kind of treatment plan, and we worked 1 acre. And the issue with that is, based on the first-come, first-served, you signed up, and you signed up, but the neighbor right in the middle of the two of you didn't, or didn't have the opportunity to sign up. So what we saw was a success in the treatment that was done. But because that neighbor didn't have the opportunity, their plants then grew into your property. So with that, we learned that you needed to have control of all of the population when you have the ability to do so. So then in 2010, we had some funding to treat Chambers Island, and Greg, he was here for these. So he can elaborate.
Chambers Island, Chambers Island, we had some wetland mitigation funds that we directed towards them. But we also had a grant from the Lakeshore Natural Resource Partnership, about $5,000. And Detroit Island had a GPS inventory of their Phragmites then. and we kind of matched the two there. What ended up happening is that the contractor bid on that 1 acre and came up with a bid of $2,000. We had $5,000, so we had $3,000 left over. And then I think Joel Dumlinson said, well, come on up to Washington Island, we have a bunch along the shoreline there. So we did that inventory and came up with another 8 or 9 acres. And now we had another problem, we didn't have enough money, and we had to do the same kind of thing. So it was kind of a key point in our program here, that we wrote a letter to those landowners and said, hey, we need your help. We want to do all of this population. And we put a simple donation form in with that letter, and within 3 weeks, we had all the money we needed to treat the entire shoreline on both, at least the south shoreline and the shoreline.
And then in 2011, where I kind of came into the picture from the DNR side, the DNR was actually awarded a GLRI grant over $800,000. And they treated about 5 counties along the Green Bay West Shores and then the Lake Michigan shoreline. And the project was actually modeled very similarly to what Door County had already had in place. And when they did the public meetings, they had informed the public that they were only going to be treating conservation opportunity areas, which are just environmentally sensitive areas, and adjacent public lands and adjacent private. And what occurred during those meetings on the county side was the landowners were asking, okay, well, I have it, what about me? Are you guys gonna treat mine? And the DNR just said no. Unfortunately, no, we're not. And Door County then saw that there was a need and a want from the public to get rid of the plant, and they stepped in and they said, okay, we'll do it. We will get permission from you, and we will just follow the models that we've used previously, and we will go on your shorelines. And that began the project that started in southern Door County, and they systematically moved north to Sevastopol. And this new grant that we have is another 2-year treatment. We're finishing up a 2nd-year treatment for Liberty Grove and Ephraim, and this is going to be the new ones for, or excuse me, Jacksonport and Ephraim. Sorry. And this is the new one that, of the landowners that they weren't able to participate in the previous years. And if you look on the 2nd page, the lower left-hand side, you'll see that that is an inventory of all of the Phragmites with the addition of the treatment that was done over these spans. And so in 2009, an acre was treated. In 2010, 10 acres, and then once the DNR came on board with their project, 200 acres in Door County was treated. And of those acres that were treated, majority of them were done on the land with backpack sprayers, at times with ATV sprayers, but that was only on the public lands. And there was one location in the county that was deemed necessary to do aerial treatment. And if you turn onto the 3rd page, top left, you'll see small little light green circles. And that was the Phragmites at the time of the aerial inventory. And the picture immediately under it is the occurrence after the aerial treatment. And you'll see that the swath got a lot larger between the inventory and between the actual treatment. So the plant spread fairly quickly. But you'll also see that the chemical that they used, which is called a Habitat or Polaris, the active ingredient is an imazapyr, and it's an aquatic approved pesticide. It has a 95% success kill rate. So with this program, we have seen about 95% success. The key to these programs is return work or follow-up treatments, just to ensure. So the first one, you go in, you try to kill everything, and the 2nd year you come in and you get all of the little new growth or the stuff that you might have missed that first time around. And that's what this program is. It's just following through with the work that we've already done and making sure that we're knocking it back to a controllable level so that the landowner can then take over, and they have the ability to either, go in there and manually do it or use a contractor to get rid of the plant itself. And that's really what the program is going to be focusing on after these 2 years. We really want to inform the public and empower them to start taking care of their property, because this plant is going to decrease recreation and it's going to decrease your water view, and that's what you want, both of those, when you're in Door County. And then on the back page, if you take a look, you can see that we've had a number of supporters in terms of the Phragmites treatment and control programs. And that kind of is what brings us here today. We have gone around to a lot of towns and villages, and we've asked for their support and for a pledge, because what we do is we send out these permission forms to these private landowners. And if they see that their village or their town has put money towards the efforts, then they think to themselves, well, if it's important to the county and it's important to the town, then it better be important to me. And it creates more of a buy-in. And that's what we really want, so that we have the opportunity to reach out to these people and inform them of Phragmites and the damage that it can do. You can also take a look at our county web map, and you can look at your own property to see if there's any Phragmites that's been inventoried. So if you go to the Soil and Water website, you hit the conservation folder, the invasive plants folder, and then you check the Phragmites box, you'll see where all of the inventory is. And right now our goal is to complete the shoreline of all of Door County, and if there's funding available or if we have money available, we'd like to move to the right-of-ways and then eventually move it to the private properties. So it's a unified front. Did I miss anything?
No, you did very well. It's, one thing that we're going to be doing is we're going to be sending out a lot of letters, thousands of letters. And we're at each one of these municipalities right now to let you know about this, because the last thing you want is to have a dozen phone calls and not know anything about it. So we're going to send this letter out after we have these meetings with all the municipalities, which is going to be basically tomorrow and the next day and so forth. The requests for proposals are also going to be going out in the next couple days. So, you know, if you guys do decide to make a donation tonight towards this effort, we will put that in the letter and say that the village donated that this much. Town of Liberty Grove, I think, is talking about it tonight in their finance committee as to how much they're going to donate. But we'll put that right in the letter then, so they see that, see and understand it's a real project.
Yeah, just for the board for a minute that might not have a lot of background on what a soil and water conservation department is. These were departments founded back in the 1930s as a result of the Dust Bowl and the Great Depression, completely voluntary associations that came around and tackled any number of landowner problems. And of course, times have changed and the problems have changed, and so what they're tackling right now is this Phragmites issue. And the way they started being funded way back when was the exact same way they're seeking funding now for this project. Just FYI and background, this is sort of how this works.
I have a question on the growing habitat of Phragmites.
Okay.
I know you see it along the shoreline, and there's places in Door County, as you come up north, you can see them, particularly in private landowner areas. There was quite a few over in the Ephraim area, in the downtown area. But you do see, and you mentioned it in a lot of the roadways, with the median in between. Do they have to be in a wet area, or can they grow without?
Yes, Phragmites does like to have its feet wet per se. It does well in wetland areas and along the shorelines. It can't be submerged. What we're informing people is they do see that, because the water levels are a little higher, so you can cut it below the water line and it will kill the plant.
And our system is basically, our shorelines are our most important for this aquatic species for the control work. And then secondly, we look at our right-of-ways, which are another avenue for it to spread. So after we control those two principal areas, then we're going to move inland. At least that's the game plan.
Greg, in terms of the seed and how this moves, is this a seed that floats and is waterborne, so it spreads on the water? Is it spread by wind? Obviously, the right-of-ways, you've talked about it there, so as a thoroughfare channel is picked up on traffic, moved along, how's it getting around?
Both and more.
Okay.
By air, by water, by clods of soil.
Okay.
You can mow this stuff, and if it's in water wet enough, it can grow.
Okay.
We've seen it growing in manure pits. We've seen it growing in gutters.
Okay.
Some of the ways that it also transports is, you'll be walking on the beach and you'll see this big root, chunk of root, and it's got a couple of these little nodes on it. Well, it gets buried by the mussels or it gets buried by the cladophora. Guess what? Next year you have another chunk. So it's just like quackgrass, where if you cut one root, now you have two plants. So it's, but what we found is it's mostly by the root. So we do the fall treatments. We're proposing September 2nd or after Labor Day. The sugars in that plant are typically going back down into the root. So we want to kill the entire root system. That's the main goal. And Krista touched on it. Over all these years that we've been doing this, we'll see 95 to or better percent kill. There's 5 plants that are still living there. Within 2 years, you can be right back to where you started. If we get those 5 plants, we see a much longer.
Where does this come from, Greg?
Caspian, well, they figure it came from bilge water.
Okay.
We saw it first in Green Bay. So it's
Where?
another one of the bilge.
Endemically? Asian?
I don't know if it was the Caspian Sea or the Middle East or anything, but if you look at some of those videos on the news right now with Afghanistan and Iraq and Iran, you see some of those waterways, you'll see that.
That's what you
same
see.
plant. You'll see those plants out there. So it came from overseas. Exact location, I couldn't tell.
Okay.
I don't even know if they know. They figure it was bilge water.
Okay.
I have 2 comments. Are you guys planning on reaching out to the public that comes to visit? Because there's probably a lot of interested people with a lot of money that would be interested in pumpkin jumping. Would you be interested in going to like a venue like Fall Fest or Pumpkin Patch, something to get it out there to reach the people that have deep pocketbooks? And second, when you're making those letters out, make sure you send them to the tax bill address, not to the physical, because not all people get mail.
That's been one of the biggest challenges, even though we send them to the tax bill location. They might be here visiting for the summer, and we send it to the tax bill, sometimes it's for it. But we do follow up, especially with those properties that have it on their property. So we try to call everybody before the deadline to make sure. And we also use neighbors.
Yeah.
Send it to the tax bill address, don't put address service on it, because if they have a good forwarding, we get forwarded. Shut it down, it gets returned to you without having to pay for it.
Pam works for the post office, in case you guys.
It's money, you get it there for you.
It's amazing how we get some of these permissions. We've had some people that are on their yacht in the Caribbean and they're on their cell phone with us, and we send it to a PDF and we send it back signed. It's amazing how small the world has become, but yeah, it's,
But you'll find people are more generous in giving that are up here for a very short time, rather than seasonal people that come up here. I noticed that when I volunteer for ART, and a big give. So you might want to hit up.
that's an excellent point, because the next step here is, this year you're going to, and I'll send you a packet too of what we're sending out as soon as we have it finished. But after 2 years, and the second letter will say, this is the last year for this program. After this, we expect some other type of program to take over. And we're working on that right now. There's a grant out there that the DNR, your former boss, and I are working on right now. It's called the Pulling Together Initiative. With that program, we're going to try to pick some of these communities that have already done this, are already in year 3 or year 4. We're going to try to, the proposal is to give them some money, some startup money, and hopefully they can do the same kind of thing at a local level and raise money locally and ask their people to do it. And it would be sort of like how the towns put out the bid for a highway mowing project, where, okay, we've got this seed money, we need to raise this much more money, but we want to hire somebody to do this service for us for the next year, the next 2 years, the next 5 years. Because if you keep it at bay, and no pun intended here, but if you keep it at a certain level here, it's not going to cost a lot. It's just going to be annual maintenance. It's like a landscaper that you hire to cut your grass. If you cut it 3 times, no big deal. If you got to cut it once this tall, it's a big deal. But I appreciate that, thank you. Any other questions?
Any other questions?
Do we have any in Sister Bay?
Yes, if you look at the
Look at that
map, the last page there, that, you have 3 little dots, and totaled up, it's about 5/100ths of an acre, so good for you guys.
We didn't want to leave you out.
Yeah. But that's good, that's good.
Well, I think actually the retention pond behind the open hearth has quite a
Oh,
bit
yeah.
of it. That's
It might
almost,
have.
I think that's all that regress there too.
Mhm.
Well, you got a lot of cattails in there too. There might be some.
Just something, for budget discussion.
I guess what I would do is, we have a finance meeting next week. I'd refer it to finance.
Okay.
We'll put it on finance agenda. Discuss it.
Okay.
Great, thank you very much.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
I want to note their personal dedication. Driving up here, they noticed some wild parsnip. So on the way back, they're gonna maybe get out and dig parsnip plants up with the grill. Right?
Yes, we are. If you don't know about this plant, either look it up or give me a call, but if you get exposed to this plant, you get those juices on your skin, and the sunlight
Nasty.
contacts it, you will get a burn.
Mm.
Nobody's immune to it, like, I'm immune to poison ivy, knock on wood, but if you get parsnip on your skin, you will get a burn, it will hurt, and it can scar for up to 2 years.
Wow.
So it's a nasty little plant that we've been really working hard on. A lot of these donation dollars go to different program areas that we just find our highest importance, so, but thank you, appreciate that.
Thanks, have a good
Thank you,
evening, have a
guys.
safe trip.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Any agenda change?
It looks, maybe you're bluff there, John.
No, it's not mine. Not to get it to the other guys.
Johnny, good thing you sold.
See you guys.
Thank you.
Item number 2, consider a motion to discuss and act on a recommendation of the Plan Commission to amend the fee schedule for zoning and developmental related fees.
All right, so Plan Commission, a couple of meetings back, asked that I bring them the fee schedule for review. We did that. They took a look at it, said, look, there's 2 items we'd like to address. One being charging nonprofits to put up banners for a, short duration or long duration special event. We charge them, I think the permit fee was $50 for that. They recommended that we do away with that. Let's encourage nonprofits to go out and raise money and be successful and not take a chunk of the money along the way. The other one is currently we are charging for replacing signs. So a business that has sort of this old, rundown, tired sign, they have to come in and get a sign permit from us, and that cost them $50. Plan Commission's thought was to obviate that and no longer charge them for that upgrade, and also to delegate the approval responsibility to Dave and I for a replacement sign. Try to streamline that process a little bit, encourage people to keep things looking fresh and neat. You'll see that fee sheet amended back here as a draft, and we're looking for approval on that.
Make a motion that we approve the Plan Commission's change to the fee schedule.
I'll second it.
Any discussion? Questions? Not? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Item number 3, consider a motion to discuss and act on a recommendation of the Plan Commission to approve a final plat for Stony Ridge subdivision.
Okay, this is one that has seen several iterations for, I believe, a couple of years before Plan Commission. It's finally gotten to a point where Plan Commission has granted approval. 2 things I'd be looking for tonight, same as what went before Plan Commission, is approval on the plat. Inside of that, there's conditional use of some on-site storage for purchasers or renters of the property there. You can see that plat map inside your packets. Lots 5, 6, and 7 on that are the apartment units. Lots 1 and shown on your plat 2 are the condo units. Lot number 8 is storage. Chris Hecht has reviewed this, issued a letter of recommendation. There are a couple of cul-de-sacs as a part of this, and this will be a continuation of Northwoods Drive. One point to note, just as an FYI, where you all see Cherrywood Lane continuing over to connect onto Highway 57, this is a concept drawing, and even though our planning maps show this and the Mao and Associates map shows this as well, DOT is very unlikely to grant approval for another road connection there, given the proximity to Country Walk Drive. You need 1,000 feet between highway or street connections in a 35-mile-an-hour zone and 2,000 feet in a 45-mile-an-hour zone. Here we have about 560-ish between those 2 roads. So it is, again, unlikely that Cherrywood Lane is ever going to connect directly to Highway 57, but still a good proposal all the same. There's a large retention pond on this to maintain stormwater, and we are still working with a property owner that's associated with this project because of utility reasons to get gravity sewer service in here running across Highway 57. That one section from an infrastructure standpoint is going to cost in the ballpark of $120,000 just to put that one connection in. However, that one connection will allow a much larger area to be developed other than just the Stony Ridge plat here at a later date. All told on this, fiscal impact of the project, we're adding in $7,475,000 in real estate between phases 1A and 1B. Mr. Garrett's proposing to move forward with phase 1A of this, which is all of the apartment buildings, the mini storage, 2 condo buildings on lot 2, and all of the single-family homes with the exception of lots 16, 17, 15, and 14. So he's trying to get the most bang for his buck out of putting the infrastructure in. Over the run of the TIF, this will generate for the village in excess of $600,000 in additional tax revenue.
Didn't the Plan Commission approve the conditional use for storage units a couple years ago?
Yes, sir. And since this is a final plat, it needs to be rubber stamped.
So I'm trying to understand that these, lot.
Conceptually, John.
Yeah, lot 5, you get access off of the cul-de-sac, lot 6 and 7. Is that somehow, how do those people access?
I'm sorry, what's not shown on this diagram is,
Isn't that the right of way that's there?
that's, yes, sir, there's gonna be a private drive that connects, and it shows up on this full-size diagram, I thought it was on this one. This cul-de-sac is right along this line here, the southern end of lots 5, 6, and 7. There's a private drive that then turns down and then loops back and reconnects into that cul-de-sac. Chris Eck and I have reviewed that for turning angles for the fire trucks. He does not think it's gonna be an issue for the fire trucks to get in and out, provide fire service there, or rescue service.
So then there was discussion about starting this access through Northwoods Drive as opposed to coming down, continuing, well, Northwoods Drive from 57, from the south, as opposed to the north from his development. Where does that stand?
You're speaking of, run that past me one more time. You're saying, Northwoods Drive continuing on through versus, just being terminated there at Ava Hope Court and Ava Hope Trail and connected into Cherrywood Lane?
Well, or I think in the most recent proposal I heard, what he wanted to do was first access this building area from the south.
Yes, sir.
Northwoods going north, and
Yes,
then
sir.
eventually make the connection
Make the
from,
connection.
okay. Is that what we're still,
Yes, sir, that's what's still on the table with phase 1A, 1B.
so at the last Plan Commission meeting I was at, not the most recent one, there was some discussion about, hadn't heard anything from neighbors, and I happened to drive out there, and the neighbor came out and said, hey, we're opposed to this, and so is my other neighbor, and there's power lines, there's driveways, this is more than just an open area that they're gonna put a road into. Driveways are gonna need to be moved in order to, in my belief. Any more public discussion or reason why we would do that as opposed to continue from the project side from the north?
Yes, sir, I guess to elaborate on that, I followed up after that trip with you. I had some confusion about who one of the neighbors was and where they were located. When I answered your question the first time, I was thinking that neighbor that I had spoken to was further north, not part of the Northwoods Drive subdivision. I paid a visit out there to get a physical view of things, not just an aerial map view of things, to find out what was on the ground. And to Mr. Duffy's point, there is a power line that's going to need to be moved, power pole will need to be reset, and there are some driveways that will need to be reshaped. Also, the cul-de-sac there will need to be chiseled out and turned into a roadway instead of leaving that big ball cul-de-sac there on the end. That's all part of what Mr. Garrett will have to take care of, and it'll be enshrined in his development agreement as such. When I spoke, or I've now had an opportunity to speak to 3 of the neighbors out there, 2 of which on lot 4 and 5, if you see that, you know, those lots outside of the subdivision, they're brother and sister, and, you know, settled there, retired there, semi-retired there, thinking that, you know, this is gonna be at the end of a cul-de-sac. But they've had the understanding when they purchased the property that there was a dedicated right-of-way there at the end of their properties, and that at some point at a future date, there would be a roadway connecting through there. And they were aware of it, and I reiterated it and made it clear to them. You know, they looked at the map. I've shared with them all of the documents that they requested, which is essentially a number of copies of this subdivision plat as proposed. And their question was, well, how come with this roadway setup, they couldn't just go ahead and extend Cherrywood Lane out, leave Northwoods Drive off of it altogether, and connect Cherrywood Lane into 57? And that's where we ran into that issue with DOT, that, well, we can't make the connection of Cherrywood Lane as it is. The other one that we run into is that for emergency services reasons, for ingress and egress reasons, just general traffic management reasons, right now, somebody would have to come off of 57 or 42 onto Country Walk Drive, take that down to Kessel Lane, bring Kessel Lane down to Cherrywood Lane, and then go on the, I'm assuming we would rename that something other than Northwoods Drive, but I'm just gonna call it Northwoods Extension for the moment, this north-south bound road going there. In order to access this neighborhood, to exit the neighborhood, they would then have to make the same transit path out. The major concern that the neighbors to the south in the Northwoods neighborhood had was that this would somehow become a major thoroughfare, that people would cut off of Highway 57 to try to get to the pig. And when I spoke with them and said, look guys, if you trace this out with your finger and sort of see which one's going to be the more logical route or which one's going to be the faster route, if you take 57 up to Country Walk Drive and take Country Walk Drive around to the pig, that's much more expedient for somebody to quote unquote cut around than come up Northwoods Drive, take a left on Cherrywood Lane, take a right on Kessel Lane, and then have to take another left on the Country Walk Drive across a lane of traffic. So I don't anticipate this is going to be a cut through, and if it were a major concern, we could look at putting some speed humps in at a later date if we see that this all of a sudden has become a speedway for teenagers drag racing or something.
Could you also make it where you could only exit right but not make a left-hand turn in?
Are you talking about at Country Walk?
No, at the other exit, so they could not, the Northwoods thing, so instead of,
Well, to start with, Northwoods is going to be the only, as I understand it, entrance to Keith Garrett's project until some point in the future when he connects to this project.
Makes the connection through.
Right. So you couldn't put a don't turn left, those people would have to then go up the Country Walk, go around, come back south, and then go in there. Right.
And clarify for me, when Northwoods was laid out and the right-of-way was put in the, I'll think of it. It's an officially mapped street.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
So when they built there, that was an officially mapped, dedicated street that at some point in time in the future would become potentially a,
I guess if I could touch on that for 1 second. When I looked at the maps, and it could just be that somebody made a mapping error, it's a dedicated right-of-way, and it's referenced in our long-range plans, but on our official map, it's not shown as an officially mapped street connecting in, which I think is just an oversight on somebody's part, because when you have a dedicated right-of-way, that's something that should have been picked up and put on an official map. I don't think there was ever any doubt that there was going to be a street coming through here, and from the, again, all the long-term plans show that. But Pam, on your point, where are you talking about?
I was talking about Northwoods, and eventually at one point, only be able to turn right out of it, but have to go out to Country Walk to make a left to go in.
Okay, so you're talking about people exiting here that only be able to make a right? Is that kind of what you're thinking?
Yeah.
I'd maybe counter that by saying that if you have an emergency vehicle, their most logical course is going to need to be further south. Ambulance coming out of there, instead of peeling back, they're going to make that southbound on 57. Okay.
other questions?
A quick question on the site storage. What kind of control are we gonna have on that? Or Garrett is, what kind is he gonna?
To be rather blunt about things, Mr. Garrett is responsible for advocating for the potential wants and needs of future landowners. That's sort of the role of a developer. He's the one that says, here's what I think these people are going to want. Right now, he's proposing 53 dwelling units going into this property. The maps that I've seen indicate there are also going to be 53 on-site storage units for consumption. Now, we are, I think, within the bounds of our code in that these are being established all as part of a subdivision. the ability for us to police who actually is using these storage facilities is going to be the same as our ability to police any other code violation that we have. It's specified in our code that if there is a violation, he's subject to a fine of $500 a month. And I've made that clear to him directly and to him through our engineers. He has indicated that he, doesn't want any restrictive covenants placed on the plat or in his development agreement. And I've let him know it doesn't matter if they're in there or not, they're in our code. And so the code applies to every property in the village, not just one specific.
It overrides it.
Yeah, it does.
I think if you go back and look at the minutes of when he was discussing that at the plan, that, because I think I brought up the question, it was going to be limited to the homeowners or owners of his property only. Because that was one of my concerns, is that you have a storage unit, now we've become another storage unit business for somebody in Liberty Grove or whatever is coming in.
Sure.
Type thing, and I think we specifically, put the restrictions on it that it has to be a property owner in his development to use one of those units.
Our code section indicates under common ownership, that's the quote. And so in a project like this, if you had a new administrator, new zone administrator come and take a look at this and try to figure out years from now, okay, well, what did you guys intend? Going back, looking through minutes, their most likely interpretation would be, okay, these storage units belong to whoever is under common ownership. So the condos on lots 1 and 2, lots 5, 6, and 7, very directly correspond to this, assuming that he continues to keep them all under common ownership and doesn't sell them off, maybe one building or a lot at some point in the future. What becomes a little more problematic, but I'll take this interpretation because it's all under one unified development here, is the single-family homes that are present there. Again, you're doing it all as one big subdivision plat. I feel pretty comfortable with that.
But
given the language in our code.
Yeah.
But it has to be somebody inside this.
It has to be in his development. I don't care if it's single family or
Yeah, and that's-
condominium or apartment, as long as they're inside of Keith's development, that's who those storage units are sold to or rented to or
Yes, sir.
or whatever. It's not somebody, Dave decides that I want to put my gas station oversupply
Right.
in there.
That was one of the concerns brought up by the folks down in Northwoods. They said, well, look, who's going to be renting these? And, they raised that question, is it likely that 100% of the dwellers of the units inside of this development are going to purchase and or rent one of these storage units? And I said, I don't have an answer to that. I don't control the market or dictate the market. Mr. Garrett's been doing this a lot longer than I have, and he seems to think this is the right thing to put in here.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to question that. Their concern was that it be rented by somebody else, and so their road see increased traffic as people come in and out. Potentially a vendor, holiday wholesale, just as a random example, might want a storage, and so you have truck traffic coming in and out. I think
Exactly why we raised the issue the first time, and I know it's in the agreement, in that when we gave them the
preliminary.
agreement, the preliminary agreement on it, that it had to be for that development.
Yep.
And it's no different than if you look at several of the other, if you look at Orchard condominiums, if you look at the Sister Bluff Estates or whatever, they all have, garages or storage units or whatever that people within that development can rent or buy or use, but it's not open to the public.
Yes, sir. And I think the general public there will handle some of the neighborhood watch or policing aspects of it. If they feel like somebody is there that shouldn't be there, I'll probably get phone calls about it. And we'll take corrective action at that time.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Are they gonna be done to look like the other buildings? They're not gonna look cheesy, are they?
He has not submitted complete architectural plans at this point. He's still got to get those to us for approval by the Plan Commission.
Let's go before the planning commission.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm sure it'll be.
He's shown me some concepts. They're attractive, but he's got to get something more specific. He showed me photographs of things that he's done in other areas, but he needs to present something specific to this, but they were attractive.
So do you want something in the minutes to state that you want it only used by persons who live in the development, or no?
Sure, that's fine.
Yeah, it says in our code section,
Okay.
concerning minutes, it's a,
One more reference to it.
it's a conditional use.
Okay, so how is this? During discussion, concerns were voiced about the fact that there is potential for the storage units to be utilized by persons who do not live in the development, and it was the consensus that such use shall be limited to development residents.
Mhm. Stony Ridge residents,
Stony Ridge.
yeah.
So are these storage units, are there multiple sizes, or are they all garages?
What I've seen so far, Shane, is just this plat. What he's shown me from a concept standpoint is the garage format. They look like, almost like what you guys have over there, where you are, Pam. And the Pheasant Park, those garages in line. Mhm.
A motion would be in order.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second?
You gotta let me second something tonight before I go.
You want to make the motion?
You gotta be quick.
Do you want to withdraw your second?
I will withdraw my second.
Is there a second?
Into the microphone, Pam.
Jump up,
Let
wave
the record
your
show,
arms.
Pam Abshire made the seconded motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Okay, you guys will still review and approve the development agreement. It's still got a long way to go before we get there.
Just one more step. Resolution number 289-071514, authorizing appointment of special voter registration deputies.
Okay, so this is one that needs to be done. It was brought to our attention by the county clerk that the municipalities operating elections should authorize the clerk to be able to appoint special election deputies. The first one, I have a feeling she'll appoint is herself. So we're looking for this resolution to button things down legally.
What is this person doing? What, explain it to me.
Operating elections for voter registration. This is something you all have done.
Something we don't
for-
already do?
This is something you've done for years and years and years. Somebody went to a training somewhere and said, hey, this
Gotta
is,
be under
Official.
resolution and
yep,
approved.
that's it. Board has to authorize it, the resolution, that's it.
A piece of paper we can put on the shelf.
Motion by
That's-
Lino.
That's it.
I'll second that. You got two of them. I
Second
got
by
two of them in.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Item number 6, consider a motion to accept the resignation of trustee Pam Abshire.
I'll make that motion to accept
I will second that, if that's fine.
that. Thank you, and can you come help me move too?
Oh, sure, absolutely.
Sure.
Oh, you're moving. I didn't know you were moving.
Oh, I didn't know last month at this time either. I didn't. Can I expound at this point?
Yeah.
Okay. You know, I had gotten a great job offer in Green Bay, and I was going to commute. I was staging my house to sell it, and not even putting my house on the market, we need to be out less than 45 days. So, yeah, it just all kind of fell into place. Thank you, God. Thank you. I mean, last month at this time, I had no idea, so
Good for you. That's-
I miss you
that's
guys.
fine,
Congratulations on the job. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, promotion.
Nice.
Yeah, you need to work hard for me.
I'll tell you, that's 3 houses that sold quick,
Yeah.
between the,
If you want to sell your house, you just get elected to the board.
that's it.
Nothing to it.
I like where I'm at.
You can sit on this side.
Pam, at some point, we just need a written statement from you.
Okay, I did that I gave one to
You
Dave.
got one? Okay, we're good then.
Okay. Second, okay, you second.
So,
And he'll help you load the moving truck.
August 3rd, 11 a.m.
I'll be out of town.
check your calendar out real quick there, Jeff.
I know, I am.
Okay,
So-
item number 6, you can stay there.
Okay.
You're resigning at the end of this meeting,
Right.
right?
Oh, okay, yeah, sure.
Do we need to make a vote
We
on
have to
that?
vote on it?
Yes.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Can we oppose?
All right. Item number 6,
Not hearing any dissension on, I asked the minutes, note a unanimous vote on, show unanimous vote.
Item number 6, there is nobody currently nominated for this position. What I would like to do is throw this open for a month to the public, general public, for anybody that would choose to apply to fill Pam's unexpired term. And we'll see what we have. There's a couple of people that have expressed some interest, so I want them to give the chance to come and talk to me, and we'll see what other interest we can generate. And then from that, pick a nominee, and I'll bring it to the board for nomination next month.
For those of you who may bump into folks throughout the next month, please get them to drop by my office and, name, number. I'll get their basic contact information, forward that on to the president, and he can bring that back to the board.
Okay. Item number 7, expression of thanks and appreciation to Pam Abshire for service to the village. I have a resolution I'd like to read. Whereas Pam Abshire has served as a trustee for the Village of Sister Bay since May 16, 2013. Whereas Pam served on the Library Commission, Personnel Committee, the Teen Center Board of Directors, and the Administration and Compensation Committee. Now therefore be resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Village of Sister Bay assembled this 15th day of July 2014 in their own right on behalf of all citizens of the village does hereby extend to Pam our sincere thanks and appreciation for a job well done. We wish the best of luck in all your future endeavors.
Cool, thank you.
Thank you, Pam.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Put that in the postal window and say, next window.
Geez, I'm going to a new village, so, and they have trustees down there too.
We'll just walk in, slam on the counter and say, how do I get into this
Experience.
site?
I'm signing up for water service. How can I help you today? Yeah.
You could send them a copy of the minutes saying, look at this, I seconded it.
I made the motion on my own resignation. Do you want to make a motion to accept the resolution?
Oh, I'll make the motion.
Is there a second?
Seconded.
All in favor?
Thank you.
Aye. Okay. We would also need a resolution for a motion for resolution 291, 07-15-14, expression of thanks and appreciation to Donna Scattergood.
So moved.
So, second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Donna, of course, unfortunately resigned last month. So we have an expression of thanks and appreciation to Donna. Whereas Donna Scattergood has served as trustee for the Village of Sister Bay since April 2nd, 2013. And whereas Donna served on the Sister Bay Historical Society Board of Directors, Personnel Committee, and the Communication and Technology Committee, and the Waterfront Oversight Committees. Therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Village of Sister Bay assembled this 15th day of July, 2014, in their own right and on behalf of all citizens of the village, does hereby extend to Donna Scattergood our sincere thanks and appreciation for a job well done. We wish you the best of luck in all your future endeavors. We also have a plaque for you, Donna.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure. And I'm just around the corner.
With all those fragments or whatever.
All those what?
Fragmites or fragment,
Whatever they
are.
call them. Those weeds.
Item number 9, reporting county activities from the county supervisor, Dave Lino. Fairly short. The county has started the budgetary process. We just completed, between yesterday and today, the capital improvement program projects for this year. Things continue to increase in cost, of course. The largest single dollar item in the capital improvement program every year is the highway maintenance. The county highway department does between usually 17 to 20 miles of reconstruction of roads every year. Those are county roadways. You have to do that many to keep it up on a 20-year cycle. So every 20 to 25 years, they've all been resurfaced, redone, whatever, to keep them in good shape. So that this year is $4.5 million. Also are continuing a tower project. As you recall, I think a couple years ago, the board approved a $2.5 or $2.4 million tower project to build additional towers for the emergency services. That was required for a number of reasons. Since then, Sister Bay, Liberty Grove Fire Department got the FEMA grant for $1.25 million, it was, which added equipment to those towers and added additional capabilities. And now, the current final phase of all that is about another 2.5 to 2.7 million over the next 3 years. It's 1.325 million for fiscal year 25 or 15, would be to add dark fiber to all those towers.
What's dark fiber?
Fiber optics.
Fiber optics, okay. And that would put a fiber optic connection, for instance, here at the fire station for EMS, okay. And the county is looking at a bid from Insight, which is Cellcom, where they put 6 strands of dark fiber at each tower location. The 6 strands of fiber would also be made available to the school districts in the area. And if you took a look, you assume when you look at a map of Door County that it's going to go up this way and down this way. That's not how it works, okay? It's going to go this way, then this way, and up, and over here, and this way, and this way. So they actually go past a large majority of the territory within Door County to string all this fiber. They've completed many, many segments of it already, and they're in the process of starting to complete the northern end, hopefully this year into early next year. And so the county is feeling that if we want to have the fiber connection to all the municipal buildings and to the school districts, now is the time to do it, because they're offering to do it when they run their fiber to all their individual cell towers. In addition to that, there's the 4 new towers that the county built that would hang in all the emergency services equipment on, that would have fiber run to it also. Okay. So if you recall from several years ago, there was a Brilliant Cities proposal. I don't know if anybody here heard any of those presentations, but there was a company that was going to run and wire all over the county with dark fiber. And that fell apart because of the cost, and they figured out you have to go here and here and here and here and here. It wasn't just a simple loop, and it became cost prohibitive. As a result of what Cellcom needs to do with their partners in the communications world, they need to run dark fiber to all of their towers. Well, all of their towers also include the emergency services towers that we had built before we built this year. I think there's 11 towers total, 11 to 15 towers total that they need to run fiber to. So since they're running fiber to it anyway, they made the offer or made a bid to us that if you want fiber to all your municipal locations and your county buildings and your EMS locations, now's the time to do it, because we're going to be up bearing real quick. So it's a project of opportunity, I guess you would call it. It's not something you would start yourself because it would be so cost prohibitive. It's not something you can do 10 years from now because it would be so cost prohibitive. It's like, here's your opportunity to put it in place.
Do it now.
So the Finance Committee did approve the CIP, and it's forwarded on to the County Board for approval on the 29th. I can't say for certain which way the County Board would go, but I'm assuming that it will pass the County Board. And that's currently where we're at on the budget process. So the CIP gets approved first, and then we start the budget, the rest of the operational side of the budget in earnest. That should be done sometime in August, September, October. It goes to the board for a final approval and public hearing in November. And that's when we'll find out what the total county budget is. So that's what the county is starting to work on at this point in time, that process. That's all I have. Any questions? Review the financial statements and consideration of the motion to approve the monthly bills. I think John wants to make the motion to approve the monthly bills. Before he starts talking about it.
I don't know about that. I'm going to defer it to Pam.
Pam, would you like to make a motion to pay the monthly bills?
Oh, I'd love to make a motion to pay the monthly bills.
Hi, Donna.
In what amount is your motion for?
My, oh boy, geez, whatever the set amount is.
$1,014,044.60.
Thank you.
I'll second that.
Discussion.
You just happen to know.
John just has some
I
notes.
was happy to see we're only paying $13.98 for toilet brushes. When I saw that, I thought, ooh, the government, they could be one of these really expensive toilet brushes. Glad to see we're controlling our costs. They're not gold-plated toilet brushes.
Only at the post office.
Oh, that's gracious.
Well, I am on page 29 of the Zoom, and it's Village Bills, page number 5. And it's for Jerry's Flowers for $2,140 for the tubs, and $1,661 for the
That's where they're using the gold.
other one, which is $3,800, in addition to the $2,000 or and change that we just paid them last month. I guess my question would be, which one of you in this board would pay $6,000 for flowers around your yard?
Well, last year this board paid $16,000
I know,
for flowers.
I know, but that was a full thing of landscaping.
Yeah, John, I don't have any doubt we can't slim this thing down some more. That 6156 should be the last rundown of flowers unless we have something kill them off.
Hailstorm?
Cold, yeah, a storm blow them apart, something like that. We do have some money we're gonna expend on fertilizer to keep things looking good through fall. I was just having a conversation with a girl there at Jerry's Flowers last week. The beautification tubs, that's the flower pots you see scattered around the community. They do charge us retail for these things. This goes back to the local purchasing policy you guys enacted in trying to purchase locally on this stuff. You know, Steve Mann and I had a long conversation about, okay, what do we want to do about this? This was their first year in dealing with flowers and planting flowers. None of them have any sort of master gardener certification to do this, but I felt like $16,000 was entirely too much to spend. So we began to take these steps to reduce those costs. You know, we got sort of two things out of this. One's an overall cost reduction, and two is we got extra labor in the Parks Department and reduced cost in the marina by moving Robbie over. So I felt like it was a 3-for deal to get that done.
So my understanding was that when this discussion was also held at Parks, the idea was, yes, we got the reduction this year. Yes, we can probably go further, but they also got a number of consultations and some education from the people up at Jerry, so they knew what to do with some of the flowers.
They did all of the
And how to handle it, and some of the designs, et cetera, so they had some idea of what to do. And I've talked to Robbie a couple of times, and Robbie was very happy that he got that. He said he didn't know anything all about flowers, he feels much better about it. And thinks in the future, you know, there's more cost savings to be had, as does Zeke, as we had that conversation. But the other thing I wanted to point out is, I think the flowers have looked better this year than they have for many, many years in the past, at $10,000 less than what we were paying.
Get a lot of compliments of people.
So yes, we can still drive some costs down further, but for the first pass at it, I think it was,
Well, now we own these pots and tubs though, do we?
we've always had those.
Oh, okay.
We've had those.
We've had those for
The main
years.
thing was Brightenhagen Landscaping, but they were doing all of the bed preparation and landscaping and all the labor. And we took that out of the budget, and now we're doing our own labor with doing it, we're buying the flowers. And it just seems to me that for geraniums, $6,000 is a lot of geraniums, okay? And I'm all for it, I'm all for supporting the local, but I don't like getting raked. And I look at it and say, wait a second.
John, the first phone call I got, I said, guys, go get a preliminary on this. And the word I got back was, okay, we want to get somebody that'll do the consultation for us and the planning for us. I said, okay, great, that has some value. I didn't want to have a disaster out in our flower beds, and so far we haven't had that. They called me at 7 o'clock one morning, Robbie was up there getting his first load, and he said, hey Zeke, I'm up here and I've got, you know, and he gave me this long list of things, and total bill on this was like $2,300 on the first bill, and I had a cabin right there, you know, as I'm drinking a cup of coffee. I said, okay, well, what's the mix? You know, we're getting perennials, we're getting annuals, why is this costing this much? And, you know, Robbie said, well, you know, we're buying these at retail, but they're coming out to help us plant them. They're coming out to do the planting for them. They'd already been out and walked the beds and did the planograms for them. So I felt comfortable pulling the trigger on it. I'm not super happy about the dollar amount in a comparative sense. And again, prior to that, Steve Mann and I had that conversation. Do we want to go to Shopko and get Shopko to just order us flats? Or do we want to go to a nursery further to the south and just order flats? What's going to happen? The folks at Jerry's Flowers actually, since they're part of our community, they monitor those beds. So when I was up there the other day, she said, it's time to fertilize those. You know, I can look at them and tell you guys haven't done the fertilizer, you know, in the last couple of weeks. We need to get that done. I want those things to look good. She actually mentioned she'd be willing to donate some of that to make sure those things look fresh because they are in her community.
So by having a plan, are we retaining that plan that we could potentially use that next year and try to negotiate a wholesale price for just the flowers, and now the plan's there and our guys know how to plant it, that we could do something similar and hopefully save some money?
We potentially could. You know, not to get into the local politics of moving things along, but, you know, I would imagine, made a pretty healthy margin on this year, taking care of us. I'm sure they were glad to do it. If in the future we want to look at opening it up for bids or just a open source and see what we can get, we could do that too.
Or if we're happy with them, I'm not opposed to staying with them, but if they understand we paid that first year for the plan in retail, now we're looking at more of an ongoing
Let's get a little bit of a discount.
contract, or maybe even a multi-year contract. Right, now we're looking for more of a wholesale price.
There may be some advantage to that, Pat, if you know, bring up a multi-year, they know what they're gonna get, so they're ordering ahead of time.
Right.
They don't have any exposure liability from some cost of flowers for themselves.
Right, yeah. We'll buy so many flats for the next 2 or 3 years, or however many years.
Plus, I think this
Good
year
idea.
the rate was a lot higher too because of the winter and the
Yeah.
hitting of the greenhouses. Because I know the ones we got down in Green Bay, the same thing, they said it was 25% more just for their heating costs, even buying them wholesale.
That's logical,
Yeah.
So, you know, there might be a reduction there.
Then I have on page 6 of the village, page 30 of the Zoom, we have Peninsula Title for $450. What are we buying a title for, or paying for a title?
I would surmise that is for the transfer on the South Highland property that transacted for $20,000.
For the, oh,
We
okay.
sold that,
That little
sold that
piece of
property.
property there.
You guys are taking care of my title.
Well, good. We thank you for your service, we thank you for your
That
service.
sound clip's getting into the Fox News.
The plaque wasn't supposed to be in addition to the title.
Right, one or the other.
Put that in your experience letter, will you?
Anything else?
I have,
I will point one out to you, that's Northeast Asphalt. If you look at the same page John's on there, that's $30,002.43. I would like to say a huge thank you to John Kaloji for bringing that total in where he did. Part of the LRIP grant funding, which was we put up $15,000, the state kicked in $15,000. We had to go to the private market and purchase asphalt for this job to resurface Woodcrest and Scandia. And doggone if he didn't hit it right on the head. We had to spend $30,000, he got it at $30,002.43, only $2.43 over on that. It was right at $9 a ton more expensive to go to the private market rather than use the county's asphalt plant. So whenever we can use the county's asphalt plant, we're saving money doing that.
But he missed it by $2, huh?
We're gonna have to fire him, Scott. I mean, no, you don't get it that good when you talk about truckloads of asphalt.
That's pretty
Good night.
close.
That was good.
on page 3 of the utilities, page 37 on the Zoom, you've got septic maintenance, cleaning for Al Johnson's for $257.
That, I won't go into a ton of detail, that is related to, well, yeah, I will. We had some complaints about smells coming from inside of Al Johnson's restaurant.
After the hookup change?
So we went back and did a lot of work with our engineers. We had a plumber come out and take a look at it. And essentially what we could figure out is that sometimes when old lines are in, there's a trap created there as a result of just the old line being in. And that system that was installed on that old line worked with that old line. When you put the new line in, the trap disappears. Now all of a sudden you learn that your internal plumbing maybe wasn't what you thought it was. So we responded a number of times to Al Johnson's. Obviously, they're a very prominent restaurant in our community and sort of a cornerstone of our community, to try to get them resolved and up and running without any odors coming as a result of the project. And the odors were as a result of our project, but not the fault of our project. It has to do with their internal plumbing. But
So we did what we could to make sure there was nothing.
it wasn't
our
on
end.
us.
And that was the thing. But it occurred after they reconnected the lines, and it was coming up right in the salad area.
That's good.
Yeah.
Teach them to eat those green things.
So you'll know, and I haven't seen this one yet, there is gonna be a bill coming at some point in the future, another Al Johnson's bill, where Dorner made a connection to the architect's office there beside Al Johnson's. They had an old well in the ground right there in the garden area of Al Johnson's. Way back whenever somebody took that architect's office off of well water and put it on to municipal water, they abandoned the line way further out than they should have. They should have clipped it right up next to the well. Instead, they just clipped it off next to the building. Somewhere in there, Dorner snagged it, and we didn't know it had been snagged until after the freeze, and Al Johnson started to irrigate, and they flipped things on, and now no water's coming out, we could hear stuff running. So we stood around with the contractors and said, look, this is a hard winter. Rather than rip this asphalt back up, let's get a plumber here to take a look at it. If it's because it frozen, or because it was frozen, that's an easy fix, and that's an issue of Al Johnson's. If it was because we snagged something, well, now we gotta rip all this asphalt out and go back and fix it, and that's a Dorner issue. Turns out, it wasn't freeze, it was our issue, so at some point, we're gonna have to go and rip that asphalt back out and do it. It'll be after Labor Day, just so you know it's coming.
So where are these guys driving with this '07 Ford that they're 3 tire plugs this month?
Downtown Sister Bay.
Just trying to figure it out, is all.
But it's paved now.
I'll bet you, it's all the same data. I'll bet you that's one tire plug, and he broke it out with shop supplies,
Yeah.
labor, and be my guess. $17 or
EPA
something
fee
to
or
fix
something.
it,
Environmental
yeah.
fees.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought the same thing at first, boy, they're throwing jacks in the road.
Anything else?
I'm good.
Anybody? We have a motion and a second.
We already did.
Yes. You said we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Item number 11, discussion regarding matters to be placed on the future agenda referred to committee, official, or employee. I would like to bring up one thing. I would like to see our meeting displayed on the screen behind us.
You mean our agenda, or seeing the picture of us?
No, no. Nobody wants that.
I'm trying to understand what you're talking about.
That's bad enough.
I mean, the Zoom product
Gotcha.
be displayed. So the agenda's up there, if we're looking at maps
Yeah,
like
it's not an
that,
issue.
plat and everything would have been
Yeah,
bigger.
good idea.
So you got people in the audience. I mean,
Good idea.
We spent a lot of money to put this in
Yes, sir.
for these electronic meetings.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Point taken.
Good idea.
Right after you patch the wall.
They won't see up there.
When the lights are dark, you don't see it. Anything else somebody would like? Future agenda referred to committee, official, or employee?
Well, the last utility meeting, we talked about having lines cleaned, visualized, whatever. And I thought the last I heard from Steve Jacobson, he was looking for board approval to move forward with that. And it just occurred to me as I was looking through this utility meeting, that's not on here. Does he need some kind of?
Are you speaking of the Casperson pipeliner there?
Yes.
That one?
Yes.
Steve and I wanted to go back and forth with DOT a couple of times based on the Marina Committee's comments about that pipe. I got word back yesterday from DOT at our conference call, and Steve was in on that no, we're not going to be able to abandon that. I did ask them to investigate any way to screen out larger materials that may be getting into that pipe. Effectively, there's just not a way to turn it without running a pump and having the pump deal with the invert elevation changes inside of that system.
Which is what we do with the swamp pump right now.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
There's
It's a matter of how
Sure.
important it is to Marina.
There's operational costs. I mean, if you guys, any problem within reason can be solved with an expenditure of funds.
Well, and the short thing right now was, first it was that they wanted to clean it and inspect it.
Yes.
And I went over there trying to understand what are we all talking about, and there's a pipe within the pipe.
Those come out.
Okay.
All right, and this is, so you guys will know what's going on. DOT, there's a pipe that runs from the Casperson Ponds out to the marina. If you look inside of that pipe, you'll see two things, depending on where you're peeking inside of it, one of the manholes or out of the end of it. There's one pipe inside of it that's kind of broken off down at the bottom. There's another one that's suspended up here at the top. Both of these have been abandoned. What those were private utility pipes, taking water out of the lake, out of the marina, and running it up onto Al Johnson's and Casperson's property for irrigation purposes. Some time ago, they abandoned these. DOT was gonna make us pull these out anyway. They said, we don't deal with any private utilities when they're run through a stormwater pipe like this. This is not our code.
Well, it was changed when we did the marina expansion,
Okay.
DDOC and commercial, because there was a pump there that was running water to keep the pond full during the summer.
Okay,
And we caused them to abandon that.
Okay.
Instead hook or put a new well in to pump their own water to keep that's how they ended up with a little well
back there.
Okay. Filling up their pond. So it was abandoned in the marina so they could do the marina expansion.
Okay, that's a piece I didn't have. I knew it was abandoned.
Okay,
The
so-
other thing you're gonna see is that's a big rusty pipe.
Well, and I think that's why they want it visualized, is to say, can it be
Sleeved.
slip lined, or does it need to be pulled and replaced? But there's all these pipes in there, and so I said, okay, well, first, if you're gonna clean it, how are you gonna clean it with these pipes in there? And he said, well, Al Johnson's needs to pull the pipes out, they put the pipes in there. I said, okay, so that's their responsibility. Then it came up in this thing that the DOT is saying they'll pay for 20% of the project, but only 20% since it's a private line. So I raised the question of, if it's a private line, why is the village bearing any cost?
I think there may be
I'm
some.
told it's not a private line. I said, well, does the DOT know that? Because if we can get them to pay more of it, let's get them to pay more of it. So what is it?
DOT, I get the breakdown, something's been miscommunicated there, I think. The little lines in there, the old water lines, those are private utility lines. The actual drainage pipe is ours, and that became ours when we purchased it from the Johnsons. Right now, the credit that I've got on my credit sheet is slated to have DOT sleeve that whole thing and use the credit 100% on sleeving. So there wouldn't be any additional cost, so to speak, on top of that. And so it's not just a 20% cost on it.
Well, they're saying that that's an interesting point you bring up about how it's ours now that we bought the land. Steve said that the village put that pipe in
Right, and there was always
1973. It's
an
always been
easement.
a village pipe.
Right, there was always an
This,
easement.
you know,
for
the
it.
DOT document says the DOT is gonna pay 20% of inspection and cleaning costs since it's a private pipe. And so again, if it's not a private pipe, if it's a village pipe, maybe we can get the DOT to pay all the inspection and.
Sleeving is what I thought you were talking about, not the
No,
inspection and cleaning.
first
Okay.
we need to inspect it to see, can we sleeve it, they said. Okay. You know, again, whose pipe is it really? You know, they think, if they think it's a private pipe, if it is a public pipe and they'll pay for it, let's get them to understand it's a public pipe and see how much of it they'll pay for it. Maybe they already know this and they're just using private in some other sentence, but I thought, let's clarify that. I mean, if it's public, then, you know, hey,
Then
if you
the
got it
other
wrong, will you pay more?
The other issue is you're still dumping in the marina.
Yes.
You know, so, you know, if they say that there's no other way I can get around dumping this in the marina for stormwater overflow, then put a gate on it. And only use it when you have an emergency.
Yeah,
You
and
know, instead of just dumping it every time it runs or rains, dumping all
close
the
it, and
swamp
if
in
it's
the
gonna
marina.
flood, then you open it.
Yeah, I mean-
Now, Steve Jacobson wasn't sure about its ability to be used, and I haven't had a chance to get with Steve Mann. He said, talk to Steve Mann, because his understanding is there is a gate there. Whether or not it's functional or
Well, if
he's
you're gonna
used it, I don't know.
redo the
but-
pipe or sleeve it and stuff like that,
But
put a
I
gate.
agree, we should, you know, look at that. If there's a gate or could be a gate put on it that you're not having a dump in the marina, that could make sense, depending upon what the cost would be to replace it or.
Okay, so you got that?
Yes, sir.
What else for any referrals?
I have two. kind of minuscule. There's something in the code that states, and I'm saying this only because of the age of internet ordering, that you could only have 4 or 8 delivery trucks a month. I can't remember the exact number.
Okay.
So UPS trucks come to your house in a month. And it's basically to inhibit businesses at home.
Right.
I would like to take a look at that, especially in the age of Amazon and online ordering and everything, because I tell you, if it's
Yeah.
by the 8th day of the month, I'm violating code.
Right.
I was gonna bring that up.
Yeah.
Amazon, what is it, pantry?
What's that?
Amazon pantry, you can order your groceries now.
Exactly, yeah, I
Dog
mean,
food,
almost
yeah.
everything.
Does a drone count as a delivery vehicle?
Yeah, true. So, I wanna bring it up to see if we can revisit it, to look at it, to see, because I think it's a relevant point now.
Yep. I don't even have a, well, I do, but not that I get the product, I'd be violating that too with all the online shopping that my wife does.
Yeah.
Well,
Maybe that's a solution.
Let's leave the
Let's save you the money.
I tell her it's against.
Sorry, honey.
No, I don't tell her anything about the shopping, I get in big trouble. You like to wear clothes? You like to, yeah, okay.
On the other hand, when the UPS semi pulls in,
Yeah.
one of its 4 deliveries per month.
I guess, because this will go to plan commission, so we'll take a look at it. What I'm hearing you say is, look, this is the age of the internet, and people are gonna get the ups man, at your house delivering, whatever that is. That's a distinction from somebody who's running a business out of their house.
But if we authorize businesses out of homes, if you authorize a business at a house, you're now gonna turn around and say you can't take deliveries?
Yeah,
You probably have more deliveries coming in and out from a residence than you do a business now, I bet.
Yeah, well, you'd stay with the demise of the post office, sorry, Pam. You know, that's, the demise of the post office, there's more and more home deliveries from FedEx or UPS or whatever. I mean, those packages that used to be postal or,
Well.
I will
we
tell you,
get a
those
lot of-
flat rate boxes though, John.
I
They
know.
work.
And
Hard to
we
beat.
get a lot of deliveries from UPS and FedEx that we are the end provider, so make sure that you guys use your PO boxes, because I'm not gonna be here.
wait a second, you lost me on that. Make sure I use my PO box so you can send it back?
No, because, well, 9 times out of 10, UPS and FedEx, we are the end carrier.
They deliver to the
If
post
they,
office.
if they go to the PO box, then you put it in or
No.
not?
No, I mean, it doesn't matter, it's where the package is generated from. We get 100 packages a day from both of those companies that we are the end carrier.
I know, but what does it have to be labeled? Does it have to have an address or a street address
It
to do
should have
that?
your PO box, because
But if you don't have
unless
a
you're
PO box?
ordering something that's 70 pounds or more, it should have a PO box, especially with the 2 new people coming in.
Right,
They
so
don't know
if the
that
PO box
they're-
isn't there, Pam isn't gonna be able to see John Clove, and know that it stays there.
Well, my problem is they send it back to penalize me. If I send it to a street address.
Yeah,
and
there's a
post
lot of
office
those.
send it
Well,
back,
you're
says
probably
they
a
don't
bad
have a
example.
street
Won't
address.
let you put a PO box, yeah. Yeah.
No, with the new way that
They
they're
will.
doing it will.
But
It will.
not everybody has a PO box.
But if
Not
you
everybody
don't
has
have
a
a
street
PO box, then don't worry about
box.
it, but because I should.
Oh, I see, if you do, okay,
If you do, please use it, because
absolutely.
That's a PR thing for you guys, I didn't know that.
what's
To put the PO box in, like Pat saying that you couldn't, for a long time.
a. Well, I
couldn't
know
put
you
them on there.
couldn't,
Yeah.
and I couldn't.
I always just told them it had to be there.
Well,
Or
a
I
lot of
wouldn't
the
get it.
carriers won't allow you to put a PO box.
That's what I'm
in.
saying.
I ordered
Order
something from
online,
Amazon
it says no
today,
POs
and they-
allowed. They just,
Right, well, I
It
put
kicks you
the
out, you get
street
an error.
address, I put road street address, and just number 823 after it. I don't say PO box, just number 823.
And that's what I've been telling people, but even now, because of the new scanners coming out, we have these new finger scanners, you can use your PO box.
Well, I ordered from Amazon today and they wouldn't accept the PO box because I don't have a mailbox. And it gets sent back by the post office if it tries to get delivered, if they send it to the mail. So,
Okay. Shane, did you have another one?
I did.
Okay.
You guys are gonna laugh when you hear it. This has been 2 years now. Can we honestly take a serious look at our weed control policy and our beer and wine?
Oh, you
The
missed last
licenses.
month?
What?
That was last month,
I'm
Dave.
confused.
Oh,
You want
I
people
know
to
that, I know,
drink
but
and
now
take
for
care
now.
of-
Well, there's a provision
That's
on the
exactly it.
license.
See, this is what we're getting at.
Right.
You basically have to
Oh, I-
keep your weeds at bay in order to have
Yeah,
a
but license
beer.
renewal
Oh, you talking
time,
liquor
if you-
licenses?
Yes,
Yeah.
if you haven't
Yeah.
been keeping
I would really
What's
like,
the
I just,
association?
I think we're combining two things that don't need to be combined. I think we could put a weed policy somewhere, that's fine, I don't care. And not that type of weed policy, but, you know, weeds in the crack policy. But, you know, I just think.
You're digging yourself in.
Well,
Crack and weeds now? Lonnie, make sure this is not part of the
Oh, wow.
but, so yeah, I would like to look at it, and it's been
Okay.
2 years now, or 3 cycles that I've been, I think it's kind of fun, because the purpose of a liquor license, beer license, all these licenses that we give out for serving beverages are for safety and well-being of our community, and
Right.
and what do the weeds have to do with that?
And I'm sure if you went back and looked, somewhere back along the line, somebody who had a liquor license wasn't taking care of their property.
That's why they did
And
it.
somehow it ended up in a code.
That was the only leverage they had, so because we brought it up at the
Right.
last time.
Yeah.
While we're talking about leads and for future agenda items type thing, seeing as how we're gonna keep the fire station, the old fire station building, you know, we're renovating and stuff like that, you gotta get rid of all those weeds in that cracked up parking lot and plant that grass, or get the parks to plant a real grass there and not just a rocky weed patch out in front of that building. Dress it up.
So I
Okay.
think Parks should make that part of their budget for this year,
It's a big,
what they want done with.
The old fire station right here?
the old fire
Like the front of the
station looks
park.
like crap in the front.
does.
I mean, there's weeds all over the asphalt, their grass is all rock and weeds.
It's because they're so busy taking care of the new
Sure.
flower beds.
I haven't noticed.
Point well taken, John.
Well, they know their competition next door, so they even
Right.
try.
It's a public building, make it look like,
Make it look like we're spending the tax right.
yeah.
Somebody also suggested, a constituent suggested we take a look at our solar and wind policy. That and that what brought this up was the electric car charging station, they saw it online. Okay? And what brought it up was, evidently we have codes that says no solar, no wind.
Yeah.
Maybe we want to relook at that.
I was actually reviewing this the other day when I had a meeting with the other administrators, and they urged me to lead the way in Door County.
Tell them to go ahead.
Well, the point on this would be, and guys, you're coming up on a tough budget period. And so when I look at areas that I can save money, we're spending close to $50,000 a year to heat and cool this building, just this building. It's not counting the rest. You're spending 6 figures out your wastewater plant on electricity, and we're spending about 18 over the maintenance building to heat that up. You've got wind blowing out here all the time when I check the wind maps, and there are 2 different types of wind turbines. One is the one we all think of when we think of wind power, which is the horizontal axis wind turbines. The blade goes this way. It's a big round prop, looks like an airplane up in the air. The other one are vertical axis turbines. They're much lower to the ground. They're maybe 15 feet tall, and they're just as effective at generating electricity, if not more so, given turbulent wind patterns. It may be worthwhile to look at that from an energy saving standpoint, cost saving standpoint over the long haul. It's kind of a pet project I've had in the back of my head, but
There's usually grants available for
sometimes
wind
they'll-
and.
Yeah,
So
they
that's
got
$2,400
those
from
trackers
the
in
state.
Sturgeon Bay. before- you know,
Yeah,
I
that's
mean,
right, down at the, right,
Yep.
the utility,
A
right.
couple of those out at the utility.
The sunflowers.
Yeah, right.
No.
On your house, John.
The
John
most
wants to burn
god-awful
diesel.
looking eyesore in the
I'm
world.
saying-
Welcome to Sturgeon Bay.
Yeah, no, put them out by the utility
Yeah,
building
that'd be
though.
great.
That's where they need the power, you know, because otherwise you gotta make the power and you gotta distribute it. They're only giving you half of the credit because they consider distribution half. So if you
Yeah,
pay
so
11 cents a kilowatt, they're only giving you 5.5. So the closer you can be.
Yeah, not to
and
go
not
way
use your
off,
distribution.
but you got a field back here that turbulent wind would do well at, right behind the fire station. You got fields up there at the wastewater plant where we could do something. You got the parks building up there. If you take just those off of our load, you think about what you could do with another, I don't know, what can you guys do with another $200,000 a year?
Well,
I'm sure you'll find a way to
Take
spend it.
that eyesore, John, and drop it on your tax bill.
So, I think we need to refer to plan commission, but I'm also
Okay.
referring to residential users too,
Okay.
because we pretty much
agreed.
do not allow,
Okay.
and I think we should take a look at it.
Okay, so what do you
Okay.
wanna do about Shane's suggestion about the weeds?
I've got it on here. It needs to go to, that would actually need to come back to the board. My predecessor,
Board, right?
Well, I
Yep.
think you refer that back to parks to start with, because there's another issue that came up with weeds.
yeah.
Just give him a bottle of Roundup and send him on his way.
I don't care if you have weeds.
We'll even put a sprayer on it.
Yeah, give us,
Put it in his drink, that'll solve it.
Somebody did approach me about our lack of consistent application of our, what do they call it, our right-of-way clearance requirements. If you go up and down our highways, you'll see most places, because over the years, we've let people know they have to keep it clear. I think it's 10 feet either side of the sidewalk, or any buffer between the sidewalk, and I don't remember exactly what it is. I have to look, you'd have to look at the code.
Yes, sir.
And we notify people, when it gets to be eyesores. Well, there's a couple of people that are saying that there are a couple areas in the village where it's not being consistently applied.
Okay.
Where it looks wonderful, and then all of a sudden there's a property or two where it's this high, and then it's to looking wonderful again. And that maybe those properties need to be contacted
Okay.
and made aware of their current policy.
Okay.
So you want Zeke to send a letter, or do you want?
I'll be
it
happy
go
to talk to
planning
Zeke
commission?
and give him the names of the people that
Yeah, catch me.
are an issue.
So is that on any property, you have to be 10 feet away from the roadway, or just on
Don't quote the
highway?
10 feet.
No,
There's a right-of-way
something.
clearance that, yes.
Yeah, Shane, from memory, it's written so that the landscaping has to be done similar to what would fit in the surroundings. It's something to that effect, so if, you happen to live beside a cornfield, that would have a different standard than somebody who's living in downtown in the B3 district in terms of grooming.
I think we're okay.
Like, I'll usually get like,
Post our
it's
mailbox.
pretty much, no, it's pretty much the commercial corridors.
Yeah.
How it's referred to. Okay, like Lampert's keeps it clear between the sidewalk and the right-of-way, and then they keep it clear so many feet the other side of it. And the rest of the field, they don't have to do anything with.
Right.
Okay? But they usually have somebody come in and cut it for hay or straw or
Right, keep
forage
the
or whatever.
volunteers down.
Once or twice a year to keep it down.
I've only had to do one code enforcement action on grass cutting this year. That was in the downtown, and as soon as I made the phone call, it was resolved within 72 hours.
Okay. Anything else? Now we have 4 meetings worth of added agenda items.
Sorry.
we'll have 2 meetings next month.
Committee reports. I'm just gonna call them out. If you have something to say about it, say it. If you don't, let's just move on. Admin has not met. That's an easy one. Financial oversight meets tomorrow. Coastal byways.
Had a meeting Thursday.
We brought back a
You
big
did,
check.
you brought that, you pulled the check out of your pocket. You
I did.
You didn't leave it in your coat?
Nope,
Okay,
had to cash that bad boy.
okay.
How much was it?
5178?
51 some change.
$51 or 5,100?
5,100.
5100. It's the third installment, and we've got somewhere around 18 in that account now, 18,000?
I'll bring it up at Parks. Putting that, remember we discussed, putting that kiosk up somewhere on a temporary basis?
Down on, somewhere in the waterfront
I'll
park for
take the
now.
call.
Can we just leave it on the trailer for the parades?
Parades are done.
I know, can we leave it on the trailer for parades? Until we install it?
Yeah.
Leave it on the trailer and put it
Well,
in
wanna
the
go park
business
it?
center.
It's not our trailer. We'll need a trailer.
Okay.
Not a big deal.
Got $18,000, buy the trailer.
It's a mobile location.
That should be enough, shouldn't it?
Our guys have learned how to do flower pots. We put some of those on the trailer. and they
Put it on a pallet and stick it out at the visitor center for a year.
DCECD.
Met yesterday, filled a couple board seats that had been, people had left. That's pretty much it.
Economic development has not met. You have some meetings coming up that,
We do have some with property owners, and we'll tell you just on that, from a planning perspective, I am talking to one individual pretty intently about the sale of the old school property. Hopefully I'll have something in the next few days to take to our finance committee meeting.
speaking of finance, meets next week, right?
When do we meet next week?
Seems like Thursday, I don't want to do
You're
that.
not gonna be there, Pat.
Twenty-fourth.
Thursday.
Thursday the 24th,
Just at what time?
2. Can you get some other time?
Can we back it up 30 minutes?
2:30? I'm okay with that. We haven't sent anything out yet, have we?
No, you said 2:30?
Yeah. And just as a reminder, I'm not gonna be there for that.
Okay,
I talked to Janelle and Dorothy.
okay.
So you'll get a reprieve on my annual
Uh,
marina need for
Well, maybe you
financial
better stay-
assistance.
Maybe you better stay.
Yeah,
Oh, you'll have a- you'll have
enjoy
another-
it, I'll be ready for the next one.
You'll have another couple of months yet.
Are you going on a boat run or what?
Yeah.
Oh, see, he's collecting
And
airballs.
you'll be back.
Yeah, there's a lot of us.
I'll be asking, what's your pilot payment over here? How about you?
Okay, fire.
Haven't
Fire.
met.
Minutes in the packet?
Fire district exploratory.
Didn't have any minutes.
No meeting.
No meeting.
Historical society.
I don't have anything.
The one thing I'll have for historical society, this will be coming to you guys just as a shuffle over. State archaeologist came down and did a dig there in the park, the old blacksmith's shed. Found a number of really interesting things. We'll be asking Historical Society if they want to accept them. I'll be taking that to Parks beforehand to see if we want to donate them to the Historical Society. Interesting facts that came out of it. Apparently someone very affluent controlled that operation. Reason being they found that there were a number of saw-cut beef bones of fairly good cuts of beef. And the interesting thing I found about it was the way they disposed of these was to pick up the floorboard, throw them in the floorboards, and they were done with them. Found a number of nails, other tools and implements.
I have a question,
Yes, sir.
because it was relayed to me that the blacksmith shop was never there. It was further down the road.
Something was there.
And they were able, yes, there was a hotel there, there was something else there, all right, but there was always a question whether or not the blacksmith shop was actually there.
Okay.
And somebody has a picture that clearly shows that's
Not
not where
there.
it was.
I'll
It was
be-
actually where the wild tomato is.
Okay.
Yeah, I was gonna say, but that's why they said they found, there was no foundation. It used to be a
Right.
blacksmith shop, and they
Right.
made a restaurant out of it.
Right.
Well, it'll be neat to see what the archaeologist
But
comes back
don't
with.
tell that to
tell
the
them.
archaeologists. Do not tell them, we do
Don't
not
open
need
your
them
mouth.
to be
Don't
digging
tell
up
them.
wild
No.
tomato.
Yeah, no, yeah.
They will not
Okay.
be able to rebuild the wild tomato.
Nails, charred nails, and then right underneath that strata, they found where Native Americans apparently had been there. They found a number of chert piles where they'd been chipping for arrowheads and various other implements. Just a neat tidbit for you guys. They'll be bringing it with their findings to the Historical Society, make it a complete.
Interesting, interesting.
Library building.
They finally had their grand opening. Did anybody go? I was in St. Louis. So I'm happy that they did that. and They're good.
I talked to Ralph, he was very happy.
Good.
Christy went and she said it was very short, sweet, but very nice.
Good.
Marina and Marina Fest.
There's no minutes there, but if you haven't been by the Marina building lately, you'll see it's a different color. And the girls are doing a great job of taking that on all on their own and painting that building. And please, be patient with the weather and stuff like that. They're doing it as they have time. But it's, they're really making a good facelift to that building.
Good.
So it's good.
Marina Fest, we had the large committee meeting last night, and all is going swimmingly, no pun intended. 7 o'clock last night, we had all the nonprofits and the board together. We just kind of laid out how everything was going, explained the new bylaws. Nobody had any issues or concerns. And that was about it. And then we just asked if people wanted to do certain different things, and we went our way. So we have another one scheduled for the 4th of August.
Yeah.
That's 7 o'clock again.
Somebody had mentioned to me something about tomorrow, next Monday night. No, okay. Okay.
I feel I have to do my annual Marina Fest budget discussion. I know Juliana's not here tonight, but she's heard me say this 2 years in a row. Somewhere in the minutes, I saw that the Marina Fest has lost money each of the last number of years, because they spend $18,000 and the budget's only $8,500. And each year for the last 2 years, I've corrected it. This will be the third year I'm correcting it. Okay? The budget for Marina Fest has never been $8,500. It's been between $14,000 and $16,000. We do take donations for fireworks, which then brings the budget down, sometimes to $8,500 or $9,500, sometimes not. It just depends on what happens. But we've never budgeted $8,500. We've never spent $8,500. It's always been in excess of $14,000, between $14,000 and $16,000. So it's a misnomer to put it in the budget or say we only budget $8,500, and I don't want anybody to have the wrong idea that suddenly we're spending twice what we did. We've always spent that money for Marina Fest. Now, if that changes this year, that's fine, but historically, I think it needs to be known that we haven't spent $8,500 and suddenly it's doubled each of the last 3 years. That's not the case.
Okay.
I know from an accounting perspective, they look at it differently. And that's why she's budgets $8,500. She gets donations in of $5,000. She calls it $13,500. Well, if you don't get those donations, you still have the fireworks, okay? But then it makes it look like you lost money.
I'm scratching my head on that. There should be a budgeted contemplated expenditure for that, and you'd have it offset by budgeted contemplated revenue.
Correct.
I don't know why that's not lining up. Okay.
That's what I've mentioned.
She has, I think, about 18,000 in there for Marina Fest.
But I mentioned 3 years in a row, and in the minutes, if you take a look at the minutes, it says $8,500.
Okay.
That's not correct.
Remember rightly, it actually went up after our 21. There was a little miscommunication that couple of years, and it went up to like 18,000.
Well, what happened was,
And the 21.
that's because we had collected money for fireworks.
Didn't have the
The
fireworks.
weather did not cooperate, so we didn't have the fireworks. So we held the money in the budget. We sent letters back to, because I personally did it, sent the letters out to all of the donors and asked if they wanted the money back, and they said, no, keep it for next year. Okay. Then the subsequent year, we sent out letters to those people who didn't donate and asked if they wanted to donate. Some people did. So we ended up with extra money, which we then put to a really big fireworks display with extra finales.
You blew it all up.
Blew it all up.
Up in smoke.
So it looks like that year, we went way over budget. It was $18,000 or $19,000. It wasn't. It was all just. But then the next year, something goes down to $8,500. So wait a minute. So, okay, I get off my soapbox. But it's been 3 years in a row, and it still ends up being that, and that's not what it is. Parks. There might be minutes in there, I'm not sure.
Yes, there are.
Barrowing, I know I missed that Parks meeting, I was out barrowing, I can't say that word, burying conduit for the electric charging station was
Yes.
discussed.
Yes.
Okay.
We agreed to authorize putting the conduit there since the construction was going on. It was just going to be empty conduit. At some point in time, it could be used for a charging station, it could be used for anything else.
Yeah.
Right. We'll put it now before they reconstruct it all and lay the concrete.
And it is, yeah.
While you're on parks, I would say that, in fact, I know that my partner here agrees with me. We go by the pavilion every time we're getting ice cream, which is quite often. And it is really looking good.
It is. It is.
I mean, that pavilion is, I mean, the colors, the rock, everything on that.
We got lucky.
I'm very pleased.
Looks great.
It
Didn't get
does.
lucky, that was a lot of hard work.
That's right.
It was 3 years worth of hard work.
Yeah.
Right.
Still on budget?
So,
We will, when it's all said and done, the way it looks like now, there've been 3 add-ons that have come up. The light and sound system came in way less than we thought, so all said and done, it looks like we'll be over $3,000. So on a project of that magnitude, to get it to a 1% overage, I'm tickled.
Over the 400 or the 450?
it's actually $504,000.
Yeah.
Oh, the 504, yeah. So it's-
Altogether.
Okay.
So we're about $3,000.
Right, over. That's right, less than a 1% overage. One of the things we ran into is one of the sheriff's deputies came in and said, hey, you need to do something because we've got kids who are putting on a show up there late at night. So $1,000 that overage is putting in a.
I don't think that's ever shown.
Videotaping.
Well, we could, we actually talked about this, do we want to put night vision cameras up and just see what happens? I don't want to run them out.
Be on YouTube.
It'd be
next
fun either
week.
way, Sister Bay bloopers, but no, we're gonna put up, actually pretty ingenious, we're gonna tie in one of the battened lights to a motion detector, I'm sorry, two of them that'll be patched into this, so that when the motion detector, which is supposed to be located up in the very top peak of the eaves facing back towards the stage, when they jump on, I'll pop two big spotlights at them, right, and they really are the spotlight. We'll also have that tied into a time clock, so if we want to pop them on for some event or something, we can just turn them on the timer.
Okay.
That's one of those. One of them was coloring, coloring of the sidewalk there, and just to make sure that was all uniform. I'm sorry, not the sidewalk, the burnish block, the grouting between the burnish block needed to be colored, it's $575, and then the other one was upgraded electric service. Haven't talked to Josh Van Lyshout down at Egg Harbor about the Pat Egan Center. They can't get enough power in there. They've just now done a 400 amp service. We tried to get 400 amp in, and the stuff from the WPS side will be 400 amps. However, when it hits our box, because the box there is not a 400 amp box, we could upgrade it to a 320, so that's what we'll have in place. It's 320 amp copper service.
Personnel. Plan. Minutes are in the meeting packet.
Nothing outstanding?
Communications technology.
Met, nothing incredibly new. Yeah.
So, well, we do continue to move forward. We've had continued to do discussions with
The
Tim
county.
and the county and what's going on. There's always the issue of the connectivity versus wireless and high speed. If this plan goes through to hook up this building, then we'll need to decide how to get hooked up over here and that sort of thing.
Yeah, they're coming up again this next week. We're looking at moving the server out to the fire station to another offsite location. They're also looking at making a copy of ours, taking it down to the county, this thing hosted with the county, and we can look at if we're gonna have connectivity or speed, to be able to just have stuff down with the county. That way we've got it in two locations, down in Sturgeon Bay, city of Sturgeon Bay, and the county's, server. Get stuff offsite.
They're big on redundancy. The way the county operates, at the county building, there's a complete setup, and over at the Justice Center, there's a complete setup. So if one building goes down, they flip a switch, everything's back online through the other one.
Going through the county is the way to go. I mean, even though it's cost us a little bit of money, it's been fairly painless to work with them and transition along. They've been pretty good at servicing us, if we can just get things in the queue to them.
SBAA.
There was a meeting last week, but there was not a quorum, so it was more of a planning discussion, brainstorming type of thing. Looking a little bit at grand opening, celebration type thing for the beach next year, for projects like that. And there was some, they're kind of wondering how the farm markets are going downtown. There's some question whether the visibility and if they're being seen real well where it's being located.
My question is, why did they have the farm market on Wednesday at the Top Shelf and downtown?
Yeah, I don't know. I mentioned that I saw they're still going on there because I went to the pig about that time as well.
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
still like
But
3
why are they
vendors
in
up
those
there.
numbers?
and-
A number of their vendors have moved down to the one
Yeah,
down here.
and
I
there's about 3 up there yet that stayed
Yeah,
up
yeah.
there.
My take on it is it's a little too early to decide what's going on with it till after you get the concerts in the park
Yeah.
going, to move over to the new performance pavilion.
That's-
I think we had
And I
14.
don't, right, I don't know what's gonna happen Wednesday versus Thursday, because if you think about it, it's really two totally different
Yeah.
things. You may end up with a Wednesday afternoon, Wednesday night, and not so much on Thursday.
Yeah. That looks to be the trend right now. We had, I think, 14 vendors at our last one, which I thought was great. And talking to some of them, the one that I talked to that did the best sold $700 worth of product, on those few hours, which for what he was selling, I thought that was a pretty good lick. Once we do move the concerts over to the pavilion, you should see a lot more traffic flow coming through there. It is on the radio. It has been in edible door, print ad, and it goes out in Sven's column and my column on the Pulse. So there's talk out there. We also put up the banners. Wendy's supposed to have something up on the marina website and the marina building also to get the boaters in.
But the original intent to ask why they're doing it is because I believe that
Paige
Yes, we-
spoke with the organizer of the one at the top
It
of the
just goes
hill
in here.
over by Top Shelf,
They
that
got
said
it.
that he'd be more than willing to push everybody down that direction.
You're
In the beginning talks,
Right.
and to try to do it on
Because
Wednesday.
it's approved by finance.
If I remember rightly from the past.
Did finance approve it?
Yeah, they had mentioned that, but, yeah, I saw there was still some up there too.
Yeah.
So I don't know if they just think there's better traffic with the
So
pick there,
in
and
the
decided
packet,
to
did we
stay
get
up
that
there,
quarterly
I don't
Yeah.
know. Those are,
That's
They're
all.
about three
You're
individuals
shooting at each other
that
pretty
work.
soon. Problem.
Okay, so
So,
also as part of SBA quarterly, they include their financials, and that triggers us to do a motion to approve the release of the next quarterly payment to them. So we need a motion via the minutes to do that.
Pam, here's your opportunity.
Oh, don't look at me. You make the
What's the
motion, I'll
dollar amount, Jeff?
Quarter of $50,000.
12.5?
12.5.
I'll make a motion that we extend the next payment to Sister Bay Advancement
I'll
for the
second.
next quarter
You go ahead.
payment. Seeing as how they're $3,000 in arrears. We're gonna need it.
No motion, second, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Great. Teen Center,
Has not met.
Tourism Zone.
They had their annual meeting, the last one, and, well, charging stations like you were talking about before was one of the big items that was on that
Who
list.
was the senator that attended?
Uh,
I'm blanking.
He was a state senator from the area.
Yeah.
Yeah, he also has a rental
Frank
property in the program.
What I'll say is, who's the other one?
Johnson? Ron Johnson? No, he's.
No,
US.
no, he's US government, this would be the
He
Wisconsin.
was a
Senate.
representative of this district, he's a property owner up here.
He's a property owner, yeah.
Yeah, I don't recall.
I wouldn't talk about this district.
So he was kind of interested in what was going on. There's a little bit of discussion about then, any changes to the room tax ordinance in the state level,
Mhm.
because it's been reviewed a few times, so they discussed that a little bit with him. And otherwise, they continue enforcement and trying to locate properties that are trying to elude paying. And they want the municipalities to kind of keep an eye on that if you know, when you hear about people that are renting and trying not to get permitted, that we're all aware of it.
And I've been volunteered for a committee to work on rewriting the bylaws of TZC, so 4 of us still working on that.
Utility. We need to change that to utility and
Wawa.
Wawa, I like that, Wawa. Utility and Wawa.
Wastewater and
Water and sewer.
Wawa.
It doesn't.
Yeah.
Anything to be said?
Nothing.
Nope.
Nothing.
Admin and comp oversight. We met last week. Continue to press forward, evaluating and reviewing what's going on. We hope in the next month or two, we can come back with recommendations and ideas for us to chew over and then decide how we're going to plug it in, and implement it.
Exciting.
Waterfront oversight has not met.
Didn't meet.
Yeah,
Well,
we did
did.
meet.
Will be soon.
Yeah, we met her, still waiting for a proposal back from Dan Morty. I spoke to him, he said, well, I'll get it to you sometime next week on looking at that. He thought I was out through this week, so he thought he had some time to work on it.
Any other committee anybody knows about that I don't?
I make a motion that we adjourn.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
That's
the
Way to
best
go, Pam.
motion.